It's that time of year when the nights get darker and colder and youngsters roam the streets begging for sweets. But for many of us, we've come to the conclusion that it's far more enjoyable to have a quiet night in front of the television's warm glow while consuming vast quantities of candy. To help entertain you this evening, we've curated a list of some eerie amusements playable on your Wii U or 3DS, and most of these games are even available for download on the Nintendo eShop right this second. So grab a handful of fizzy cola bottles and enjoy an evening in with some of the spookiest games around. If you like your horror to be as cheap and as tacky as possible, then you'll love the B-movie stylings of LucasArts' Zombies Ate My Neighbours. Available for download on the original Wii's Virtual Console service, this top-down action game contains 55 stages of schlock horror goodness. And there's even a 2-player cooperative mode, so you don't have to play with yourself this Halloween. On the other hand, if you're after some more serious scares, then you absolutely cannot go wrong with the original Resident Evil, or specifically the excellent remake available for GameCube and Wii. The Umbrella Corporation's Spencer Mansion is no less creepier, even today, and you can't beat the atmosphere conveyed by the visual and audio elements, while the gameplay itself is still top notch, offering something for fans of the series old and new. From zombies to vampires. If you're going to talk about classic horror gaming, then Castlevania is likely to be the first name to pass your lips. A great homage to classic horror monsters, Dracula's castle is still as treacherous as it ever was. Bats, skeletons, and those bloody annoying Medusa heads are just a few of the whip fodder standing between you and Vlad himself. You can't go wrong with any of the Castlevania games available on Virtual Console, but the original NES game is as pure as the series gets. Now if platforming action is too intense for you, how about some pinball? Devil's Crush is one of the best pinball games ever made, and it's a delightfully simple way to partake in this spooky season. Satan himself will be pleased. How could we possibly talk about spooky games without mentioning Luigi's Mansion 2 for the 3DS? Nintendo's approach to horror is not particularly scary, but it is an enjoyable romp through multiple spooky mansions, sucking up ghosts and solving some rather clever puzzles. A worthy follow-up to the GameCube launch game. Scary games don't have to involve vampires and ghosts. Case in point, Metroid Fusion. Surprisingly atmospheric for a Game Boy Advance game, Samus's fourth outing is on this list because of its main antagonist, the SAX, a parasitic lifeform that has infected our heroine's power suit and used it to become a powerful copy. The game begins with Samus at her weakest, facing a version of herself at her most powerful, and there are few things more eerie than seeing the SAX strolling around the research station, laying waste to all in its path. There was a time when the Splatterhouse series was one of the most gory and shocking games to hit the 16-bit era, but this first sequel seems tamed by modern standards. Still, the mindless brawling gameplay certainly has its place, and after all, there's nothing wrong with playing something tacky on Halloween. If you want a tough game for this Hallows Eve, then the SNES version of the infamous Ghouls and Ghosts will fit the bill perfectly. A classic arcade platformer, Arthur's quest to rescue the princess from Emperor Sardius is a brutal, unrelenting game that will test your skills and your patience to the limit. Oh, and you'll also need to finish the game twice in order to get the proper ending. As I say, brutal. After Ghouls and Ghosts came Gargoyle's Quest, a lovely little platform game with mild RPG elements. Playing as the Red Arima, a villain from Ghouls and Ghosts, this is a very different take on the series, and it's a little less frustrating. Definitely worth a go if you fancy something a little bit different. An unusually mature Wii U launch title, Ubisoft gave us an apocalyptic vision of London, filled with the horrifying hordes of the undead. Survival is the aim of the game here, and the threat of your character permanently dying is a very real one. This is definitely a game best enjoyed with the lights off and the surround speakers cranked up.